Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Cimmerian September. This is Michael K. Vaughan's event for the month of September, where we talk about Robert E. Howard and all of his creations. Slight suggested focus for this month, this time around, this year, is to read works by Robert E. Howard that aren't Conan the Barbarian, maybe even that aren't fantasy. But I have been in a groove of reading old issues of The Savage Sword of Conan, brought out by Marvel Comics about 40 years ago. There is currently a Savage Sword of Conan being published by Titan Books, and it is quite good. But for the most part, it is quite good. But the original Savage Sword of Conan was done by Marvel Comics as a kind of companion to their full-color monthly Conan the Barbarian comic book. And for years, I bought Savage Sword of Conan and really liked it. And then I fell off. It seemed to me that once John Buscema was no longer a regular artist, once there were no longer, in my opinion, regular artists in the roster that were any good, I largely drifted away. I mostly read comics for the artwork. So a lot of these issues that I'm reading for Cimmerian September are new to me. And I read last night number 112, another Joe Jusko cover. Again, not a winning cover of his. I don't know what this woman is doing. I know what you're. I mean, even the anatomy is wrong. But I know what you're supposed to appreciate. But I don't know what she's actually doing in the context of the picture. And it's got tigers on it again, which is a little bit odd. But the issue was terrible, just terrible. It wasn't that I need to, that it needs to grow on me or whatnot. It was just awful. And the reason it was just awful is because it was topical for the 1980s. And that's always bad. That's always a bad idea. The issue is called, the main story that we'll be looking at is called A Dream of Empire, which might give you a hint right there. And it is a story of tribal peoples fighting against each other and against the scourge of imperialism, in this case from the Kingdom of Turan. And the peoples are called the Yetshi, the Afghulis, and the Iraxai. The Afghulis and the Iraxai are fighting each other. And they are all inflamed by the dream of the Zarmi, of not the Mahdi, but the Zarmi, a mystical, superpowered messianic figure who will drive them all to victory over their enemies and also to throwing off the yoke of the imperialist aggressor. Now, I have to say that the artwork here is by Dave Simons, and I haven't really liked his artwork, and I can see in an issue like this how it might sort of grow on me. He has definitely a style. This is the first issue where I thought that maybe the problem with him isn't composition. Obviously, there's no composition problem here. I think maybe the problem that I have with him is his inker. Maybe if he'd had a really good, strong inker, I wouldn't mind him so much. But Conan gets involved in what is very clearly an analog for 20th century politics, and even comes to the point of confronting Zarmi herself. And I want to read to you. I don't actually want to read. I mean, this panel sums up the issue. If you're not interested in reading about what informs this panel, then you're not interested in reading this issue, because you're certainly not getting Conan. But he confronts her. He kills her guards, and he confronts her. And they have a geopolitical conversation where he says if they were fools, it was only because they, like their comrades, chose to follow where you led them. And she says, fools, because they elected to follow me to glory? And he says, nay, fools, because they should have seen that the only place you would lead them would be to their doom. And she says, now hear me, you hill-born swine. Win or lose, at least I gave them a taste of triumph, a chance at making something greater of themselves than they had ever been before. Thanks to me, they've become united people, striking out against tyranny and subjugation instead of groveling at the feet of their Turanian masters. Thanks to me... And then Conan interrupts her. Thanks to you, those men are dying like flies down there in the name of a crusade they could never hope to win. If you'd had a spark of decency, you'd put an end to the slaughter by calling on your followers to... And then she interrupts him because he suggested surrender. Does any of that sound like Conan? No. It does not sound like Conan. None of it sounds like Conan. So it was a disappointing issue, but at least I had the satisfaction of reading a letter from Saranac, New York, where the writer says that he's been reading Conan comics forever and ever. And he says, now for the bad part. On page 11, Conan, we saw this issue. Conan pulled a tower full of men. You've just got to be kidding. And there's a typo there in kidding. It's Kiding, and no one fixed it. If you're doing a letters page and the letter writer is not attacking you, if they've just made an honest mistake, then you silently correct it. You don't want to perpetuate that error for the world to see. But they didn't do it. On page 51, he fell a long distance, landing on a roof, on top of a roof, grabbed a flagpole, it breaks, he bounces off a wall, landing on another roof, slipped, bounces off a wall and hits another roof, slides down that roof and landing on another roof, falling through it and landing on a wagon full of hay. Don't you think this is getting out of hand? I collect Hulk comic books too, but I like Conan as a barbarian, not as the Hulk. And I agree. I pointed that out when we were looking at that issue, that is kind of ridiculous. If you're a comic book writer, you can come up with something a little more convincing than Conan simply shrugging off a 100-foot fall onto a building. But aside from that letter, that was precious little vindication. Aside from that, there really wasn't much in this issue. There really wasn't much to appeal. So I'm hoping for better luck tonight. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll hope to have something better to report next time. Thank you, BookTube.